Greetings, Professor Fuentes and fellow classmates. I present to you my perspectives regarding the current course, Violence and Resistance in Latin America. For the subjugation, enslavement, indebtitude, dire poverty, inequality, to thrive 500 plus years later, what is essential is an alliance of powers, of imperialist powers, of military powers, and in most of Latin America, that thread of religious absolutism. That is not to divert from the Marxist ideals of communism that once set forth also present the human race with oppression and subjugation under that application of power. I'd like to begin by noting that regarding the Taíno Arawak people, Bartolomeo de las Casas wrote as follows: "These would be the most blessed people on earth if only they were given the chance to convert to Christianity." He spent his life watching, being a part of the atrocities, the massacres, the rapes, the removal of these nations. And yet he continued in his quest to exorcise them of their culture, of their own spirituality, as he hopped from one land to another. And at some point, he decided that he was going to present a peaceful approach to exorcism of the Indian. And that could not be more sadistic. For within that system of oppression, one cannot say to another, "Rise above it, for you are now saved, and take what we're giving you." He ended his life by going back to Europe, to the comforts and the privileges that he actually never relinquished. And like him, Cristoforo Colombo is also revered in these mythologies of revisionism through the years. Fast forward to the imperialism of North America. In 1913, Woodrow Wilson wrote regarding Latin America: "You hear of concessions for foreign capitalists in Latin America. Not so. For foreign capitalists in the United States." He not only belittles the regions, but clumps all of Latin America as one, as a weaker force before the global exchange. And so in this, whether it be manifest destiny or the doctrine of discovery, they're just mere label changes. We move forward from a southern area of South America, to the Chilean dictatorship, where we were given the opportunity to read testimonial narratives of experiences by everyday people who survived that dictatorship in the reading of the Commission of Truth. Yes. In each testimony, there is a connectivity to neighbor, sister, brother, cousin, uncle, father, mother, teacher, that we cannot actually fathom unless we have experienced. We look at that and we absorb it, and we don't feel the screams. We don't have inflicted physical harm. We're not raped. We're not sodomized. We're not tortured. And yet those words leap off the page. Just as with the memoir, just as with the testimonial work of Alicia Partnoy. She embodies not only a victim or a survivor, but a leader in a resistance. The atrocities that she endured in Argentina, no different than what was sanctioned against others in the concentration camps that we became privy to in the 3-year work of the official story. Anna, Gabby, Alicia. 3 different human beings, 2 women and a child, in the aftermath of that dictatorship, where no answers were solid and no form of accountability ever came to play. A possible grandmother that never has her answer. A child that may or may not be told she is adopted and how she came to be adopted. A wife who endures anguish because she herself doesn't know. A husband who unravels and shows his inability to express emotion, who represents the patriarchy, the violence, the aggression, the denial of a system that created all of those inequalities, insecurities, nightmares. We move forward to Macarena Gelman. And that is a wonderful story out of an incredible atrocity. The unyielding love, and commitment by her grandfather is a parallel reality to the mothers of la Plaza de Mayo, las madres de la Plaza de Mayo, who became grandmothers de la Plaza de Mayo. Gelman's granddaughter was located, and they were reunited after his son and his daughter-in-law were assassinated. His granddaughter was ripped from her mother's womb and arms. And that is a story that has an ending, that has a history that they can look back on, yet millions of people do not. The desaparecidos, the disappeared ones, the ones who still wait for them, the ones who dream of them, the ones who didn't have a chance to bury them. Then we move forward to Rigoberta Menchú. I prefer to call her Lady Menchú. She also a testament to resistance. And yet further north into Central America and Guatemala. She straddles two cultures, and all she knew from infancy was harsh labor, subjugation, dire poverty, without respite. No matter how hard that family worked, they were still Indians in the system that expected them and mandated them to pray to an idea of a higher power that never, to this day, will ever see them as equals. To this day, the Vatican is a superpower. It is the largest landowner on the planet. It is headed by Caucasian men only 500 plus years later. In recent history of our time, July 2021, we have our brothers and sisters in Haiti going through an incredible upheaval based on the same colonialist ideals, platforms, and executions. Except now, the mercenaries are bought and sold from our own Latin American neighbors. So the imperial powers of Europe and North America continue to maintain those separations, the culture wars that they instill, the culture war between Quisqueya, Dominican Republic, and Haiti. Yet one small, beautiful island remains divided. So as we look from our own experience in the infancy of the 21st century, as mestizos, Afro-Latinos, mezclados, colados, we can see these trajectories, and we can see the people who really embody leadership. And yet they still cannot rise above all of it to make a seismic shift. However, I do feel that we are part of that impetus to keep going and create a critical mass consciousness. So violence and resistance are a tenuous match in society. It happens here as well. It's happening on a severe scale here. This course has allowed a broader perspective of the people who stand before tyranny of injustice, and the people who thrive and plant the seeds for us to be inspired by, to be empowered by. And most importantly, to actually acknowledge our Latin American brothers and sisters, not as just separate nations, but as people who have the same aspirations, dreams, and rights as Earth citizens.